The handcuffs clicking around Diana's wrists sounded like Christmas bells, and my birthday rolled into one perfect moment. You're under arrest for filing a false police report, impersonating a property owner, and harassment, Officer Martinez announced while Diana's face cycled through every shade of red in the color spectrum. This is impossible, Diana shrieked, her perfectly styled hair finally showing cracks in the facade. I'm telling you, I'm married to the owner. This punk is trespassing on my property. Officer Martinez looked at me with barely concealed amusement. Sir, can you prove you own this residence? I smiled, pulling out my phone and the folder I'd been carrying. Actually, I can prove a lot more than that. Diana's eyes went wide as I opened the folder. What is that? Your divorce papers? Diana, from 2019. Turns out you're not married to anyone, especially not to me. Let me back up 3 months to explain how we got to this beautiful moment of justice. My name is Jake Morrison, and I'm a 28-year-old software engineer who saved every penny for 5 years to buy my dream house in Willowbrook Gardens. It's a modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Enter Diana Blackwood, a woman who treats every social interaction like she's starring in her own daytime soap opera. Picture someone who shops exclusively at Nordstrom but pretends it's Target, drives a leased BMW she can't afford, and has the kind of bob haircut that screams, "I peaked in high school." Diana had recently bullied her way into becoming HOA president after the previous president moved to Florida. Her first act was to introduce herself to the neighborhood with a letter explaining her vision for community excellence. Her second act was to decide I didn't belong here. It started innocently enough. I was working in my garage on a Saturday morning, tinkering with my motorcycle, when Diana appeared like a bad omen in designer athleisure. "Excuse me," she said, clipboard in hand, "but I don't think you should be here." I looked up from my bike, confused. "I'm sorry. This is a residential neighborhood. We don't allow commercial activities." I gestured around my garage. "Ma'am, I'm fixing my own motorcycle in my own garage." Her eyes narrowed. "Your garage?" "Yes, my garage. In my house, on my property." Diana's laugh was like nails on a chalkboard. "Oh honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This house belongs to the Morrison family. I'm Jake Morrison." She looked me up and down like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. "No, you're not." That was my first taste of Diana's delusion, but it wouldn't be my last. Over the next few weeks, she made it her personal mission to prove I was some kind of squatter. She'd patrol past my house twice a day, taking photos and making notes. She questioned my neighbors about the young man who's been hanging around the Morrison place. The thing is, I'm half Korean, and apparently that didn't fit Diana's mental image of who could afford to live in Willowbrook Gardens. In her mind, Jake Morrison had to be a middle-aged white guy, probably with a wife named Susan and 5 kids. The real Jake Morrison, young, Asian, and single, couldn't possibly be the homeowner. Diana's harassment escalated when she started following me. I'd come home from work to find her car parked across the street, watching my house like some suburban private investigator. She'd time my comings and goings, documenting my suspicious activities. Those suspicious activities included mowing my own lawn, getting my mail, existing while Korean. When I confronted her about the stalking, Diana's response was to call an emergency HOA meeting. All 4 people who showed up, including her, got to hear her theory about how I was obviously subletting illegally from the real owner. "I've done my research," she announced dramatically. "Jake Morrison is a 45-year-old businessman with a wife and 2 children. This person is clearly an imposter." Mrs. Chen, my elderly neighbor, raised her hand. "Diana, I helped Jake move in 6 months ago. He showed me his mortgage documents." Diana waved her off. "Documents can be forged." That's when Diana made her fatal mistake. She decided to take matters into her own hands. I was working from home on a Tuesday when she showed up with backup to other HOA board members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Diana marched up to my front door and started pounding like the FBI. Open up. This is an official HOA inspection. I answered the door in my pajamas, laptop in hand, clearly in the middle of a video call. Diana, I'm working. What do you want? I'm here to verify the identity of the actual property owner. You're looking at him. No, I'm not. Diana pushed past me into my house, her backup crew reluctantly following. I'm Mrs. Morrison, and this is my property. I blinked. I'm sorry. What? I'm married to Jake Morrison, the real owner. You're trespassing. Now, let me explain something about Diana's brilliant plan. She had somehow convinced herself that if she claimed to be married to the real Jake Morrison, she could legally evict me from my own house. There were several problems with this strategy. I am Jake Morrison have never been Mariana is demonstrably insane, but Diana had committed to this delusion so completely that she actually called the police. I need officers at 412 Maple Street, she said on speakerphone while standing in my living room. There's a trespasser in my home who refuses to leave. The 911 operator asked for her name. Diana Morrison. This is my house, and this man is refusing to leave. I just sat there, laptop still open, watching this woman commit fraud in real time. Part of me was horrified, but a bigger part was fascinated. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. When the police arrived, Diana was in full performance mode. Officers, thank God you're here, she wailed. This man has been living in my house for months. He won't leave. Officer Martinez looked around my living room, taking in the photos on the walls, the mail on the counter, the general lived-in appearance of someone who actually lives there. Mom, can you prove this is your residence? Diana's confidence faltered for just a moment. Well, I don't have my documents with me, but I'm married to the owner. And where is your husband? He's traveling for business. Officer Martinez turned to me. Sir, do you have documentation proving you live here? I nodded, walking to my desk. Mortgage documents, utility bills, property tax statements, driver's license, all in my name. Jake Morrison. Diana's face went white. That's impossible. You're not Jake Morrison. Actually, I am. And I've never been married to you or anyone else. That's when I pulled out the folder that would end Diana's reign of terror. Officer Martinez, I think you should know that Diana has been harassing me for months. She's been stalking me, trespassing on my property, and now she's committed fraud by claiming to be my wife. I opened the folder and pulled out a thick stack of documents. I hired a private investigator last week to look into Diana's background. Turns out she's been divorced since 2019, currently unemployed, and facing eviction from her own apartment. Diana's mouth fell open. How did you? Public records? Diana, amazing what you can find when you actually do research instead of just making things up. Officer Martinez examined the documents. Ms. Blackwood, is this accurate? That's not. You can't just ma'am. You told the 911 operator you were Mrs. Morrison and that this was your property. Based on these documents, that's a false police report. The rest played out like a beautiful symphony of justice. Diana was arrested for filing a false police report, criminal trespass, and harassment. The HOA board immediately removed her from her position and banned her from all future meetings. Her landlord, apparently tired of her drama, served her with eviction papers the next day. But here's my favorite part. Diana had been so convinced that I was a fake Jake Morrison that she never bothered to check if there were any other Jake Morrisons in the area. There weren't. There was just me, the real, actual, only Jake Morrison in Willowbrook Gardens. As Officer Martinez led Diana away in handcuffs, she made one last desperate attempt to maintain her delusion. This isn't over. When my husband gets back from his business trip, you'll be sorry. Officer Martinez paused at the squad car. Ma'am, according to these divorce papers, you don't have a husband. You haven't had one for 5 years. Diana's face crumpled as the reality of her situation finally hit her. She'd built her entire harassment campaign on a lie so ridiculous that even she couldn't maintain it anymore. The neighborhood threw a block party the next weekend to celebrate Diana's departure. Mrs. Chen brought homemade dumplings, the Johnsons contributed a case of beer, and everyone toasted to the end of HOA tyranny. As for me, I'm still living in my house, still working in my garage, still existing while Korean. But now I have security cameras, a restraining order, and the most entertaining story at dinner parties. Diana learned an important lesson that day. Before you claim to be married to someone, make sure they actually exist. And if they do exist, make sure it's not the person you're trying to evict. Game over, Mrs. Morrison.